special plug pickup gaming where we've got the Panzer game system, which finally has come in through delays and whatnots. It is now finally at our table. What we're going to do is take a look inside the box and see what we have. So I've got my son here helping out. He wanted to hold pieces and stuff like that. So first of all, we're going to open it up the box. Now I've already have opened this. You just can't wait. You got to get into pieces. So I'll show you some of the things that we found. So first of all, here's the cover. Hold that up, son. All right. Now the cover art. This was a tribute by in the memory of Redmond Simonson. I don't know their names all that well, but Roger B. McGowan came up with the cover art in a tribute to him, and to Robert, he, if you read the box art, he did like Panzer Blitz cover, and that's what I like about the box. You open it up, and I've seen some of the games where they have extra little things on the side, kind of like when I looked at my Combat Commander Pacific game. They've got little stuff on the side, so decorative sides. So when you open it, it's on.
When are we going to show them our tank that we're building?
We'll show that later. Right now we're showing this. That's why they say never work with animals or children. Alright, so in the box you get dice, which he's very excited about having dice because my father-in-law made me a really cool dice tower. And when we got Combat Commander Pacific has no dice, but so we couldn't test out the dice tower, but now we got dice. You get 4. You got 2 white and then 2 color to help you designate your tins. Some of the combat results, especially when you get into like the advanced rules, the color of the dice will make a difference in determining hit and damage. The other thing you got was the baggies. Roll of baggies. We also got a stack of cards. These are the data cards. Let's see. Mine are still kind of packaged. When I opened them, they had actually slipped out of the little paper holder, and they were just all kind of floating around and banging around. But I just stuck them back in. It was no big deal.
My favorite tank is the elephant.
His favorite tank is the elephant tank, which I did not notice. Oh, the elephant. Yeah, the elephant they had. It was the mouse you were looking for. We have an elephant tank. Alright, so first thing I want to do is talk about the map. This is a question that comes up I've seen on forums. Prior to the map, the game coming out, there was a sample map posted, and it was stated that it would be the 22 by 34 inch map. So we'll just take a quick unravel here. And it is single-sided map. So you get a nice, rather large playing area, and when you do your scenarios, the scenarios designate hex size. You'll be playing, a particular scenario might be on this portion of the map or this portion. So one of the questions I read was, will that work? What's it gonna be like playing the same scenarios over the same map? Well, because you break it down in sections, it's not necessarily the same map. But obviously there will be some repeat in terrain at some point because your map sections will overlap. Alright, he's leaving for a moment. So that's going to kind of be up to you on if that's going to be a problem or not, having just one map. And because it's single-sided, that really leaves you even less variety of terrain to play on. But it is a nice map. And then people have also commented on the map art. I don't have a problem with the map art. It's fine. But if only having one map is an issue, if you have any other war games, I'm pretty sure that any scenarios you create, you could easily use the different maps that come in those products. So that should not be a concern. Now, since I've got the data cards here, go ahead and take the little slide them out. Alright, so we got data cards. In the primary box, the data cards for all the German vehicles and the Soviet counters come in just one stack. In the later expansions, they're broken up a little bit better. But
Is the G1A?
we probably won't show every single data card because there's a lot. But
It's two-sided too.
yeah, let's hold it up here a little bit. So there's actually quite a bit of information displayed on each card. They have the offensive capabilities at the top, defensive capabilities down at the bottom, some movement information, and as my son points out, they are double-sided, which is spectacular. Just means depending on what you're playing, you might have to flip your card every now and then to find what you need, but that is a minor quibble. What's also nice is these are an extremely thick cardboard. I mean, they're not designed to bend, so don't try to bend them, but very thick. I don't know if you can hear. So they are very sturdy, very rugged. So the only thing that I got to think about is how to store them, keep them safe. So we have quite a few.
I think this one is competing with the elephant.
Which one? This one, he says this one here, the SU-152 is competing with the elephant. Well, all depends on what you mean, because I would say that they're all competing with the elephant.
No, by size.
Oh, by size. Yeah, it's pretty big. So you can look at the data cards. Next thing that we had in the box, I'm sure the pieces are out of order, but we actually have quite a few data cards. So here we had a Panzer Toad data card. So it just kind of tells you how to read all the information on the data cards, because the gameplay really revolves around the data cards as far as your firing information and defensive. So lots of key information.
This one also might be competing on its own team.
Yeah, it is. The Tiger 1 competing in size. Very true. It's a big tank too.
What about the G3B?
G3B. Tiger 2 is very big. This just, my son's pointing out, he keeps saying the first letters like G3B here. That's probably blurry for you. But it is a designator to help you find which counter to use. Kind of links it up with the counter and the card. That way when you grab a counter out of the counter box, you know which data card to use. The name is actually right past that, so you're going to be looking at the last part of the name. Tiger 2.
The VIB, Tiger 2.
VIB, yep, 6B, Tiger 2. So here we've got, on the back side of the data card, has a turn tracker, has a transport summary track, which was actually very cool, to where if units are being transported, you don't have to make big stacks on your map board. They have counters that you can put down next to a vehicle and say, well, this is what number 1 is carrying, and then you can stack all the infantry and towed artillery, whatever, right here on a sideboard, so that your map board stays kind of clean and you're not messing stuff up. Same with the hidden unit track. If you're keeping track of hidden units, they've got a separate data card where you can place exactly what is hidden where off of the actual map board. German flat gun.
8.8 cm flak.
Nice, they got flat guns too.
Because they have planes in this game too.
That's right, there are some aircraft. As a matter of fact, here's a data card showing an example of how to read the aircraft card, and down below some of the artillery. And on the back is another set of the turn tracker and hidden movement and the transport track, so that way each player can have that if needed. The only thing that I was a little bit disappointed on the turn track is after I've seen like Combat Commander's turn tracker and their display track, having just a little tiny thing for turn track is kind of sad, but it works. But
IS-2M44. Look how big that is.
Wow, the IS-2 is huge. It's a +1 size, just like the elephant. Big. All right, another thing that we had in here, this is the primary data key, so covers vehicle information on the front, on the back, talks about infantry, and then crew-served weapons.
Oh man.
Then we get into some player cards, and it looks like, which is very nice, I don't know if they meant this, but if they did, it's excellent. there are 2 copies of each set of player cards. That way, each player gets their own. This is an example of side C, D, so there's 4 cards altogether, and 1 set for each player.
This tank is +2.
Oh, that's a +2 size. That's a very big. That's huge.
I think it's bigger than the elephant.
It might be.
+1.
Yeah, the elephant was +1, so that's huge. So 2 of C and D, and this one was huge to the point where it folds, and you have to unfold to get all the data. And this is A and B. So your data cards are that. Lots of charts. So if you're a chart-happy person, this is the game for you. I like charts and tables. So as you get into the advanced rules and optional rules, you will be using these data cards quite a bit. Primarily in the basic game, you'll be using the sequence of play, AP hit, AP modifiers, and possibly your terrain effects just to see if it will affect anything. But most of that is going to be on your advanced game. Spotting ranges is what you'll be using a lot of as far as in the basic game. So in the basic game, there's not a whole lot that you need, but as you add complexity, lots of data to track, and they have a lot of charts.
Also, this game has artillery and, aircraft and anti-tanks.
He needs a microphone too. Here.
There's planes and there's anti-planes. There's also anti-tank and trucks and... Okay, here's...
Awesome. All right. So then books. Now,
And artillery.
artillery. He says. Now the books are actually really, really nice. It's not super glossy paper. It's not super thick, but it is actually really good quality. They are full color with play examples, and I won't talk too much about the rules because other folks have already talked about that. 80 pages of rules, but what is nice about those 80 pages of rules is it's a modular system. Has a terrain key on the back just to tell you what it is you're looking at. But I will say that's a really strong strength of the game. These components in just the base game are going to carry you through all the basic rules, all the way up to advanced rules, and into the optional rules. So very, very versatile system in the basic box. So far you've got everything you need for hours and hours of gaming. So that's the rules. And I really recommend the basic rules that people start with. Phenomenal system just even in the basic rules for tank combat. Then we have a playbook. The playbook even, same quality paper, beautiful artwork on the inside. It has large descriptions of the actual scenarios, so it clearly shows you the setup, what units are involved so you can pull out the proper counters.
Dad,
Yes, son?
help me put in the,
Yes, that would help you put these back. Yeah, putting this little sleeve back on is a pain. I'm sure when they do it at the game, at the company, they don't have to put it this way. They probably have like a little machine that bends for them. But when we're trying to do it, because I don't have a bender, it's kind of a pain to get it just right. The expansions do it a little bit differently, but we'll do a separate video on the expansions. So this is how the base game came. The expansions, they package them, the data cards, a little bit differently. And I think they did a better job in the expansions.
it came with regular game and expansion 1 and 2.
Yeah, we have expansion 1 and 2 that we'll take a look at later. So the playbook in the beginning has some rules that explain how to set up your scenario. And I believe after you get through
Can that go on the dice tower? Where is it?
well, it's in the room so you can't get it right now. It's got rules on designing your own scenarios, and then at the back, I might have been thinking of the other books. Let's see here. This charts that tell you what vehicles were available at what times of the war. Okay, I thought this had a sample tables of organization and equipment, TO and E's. No, kind of, sort of. Talks about them. but the expansions actually have nice detailed charts on the TONEs.
I don't really know which box, like expansion 1, 2, or the regular game has the elephant in it.
I don't remember which one has the elephant. I think expansion 1 had the elephant. Okay, last thing we're going to talk about is the counters. So I have already, punched the basic game. I didn't do the expansions yet. There's a lot of gaming to be done in just the base set, but the quality throughout the expansions is equal to the base game. It's phenomenal. And I'm going to take a look at some of the counters here. For this, I went ahead and ordered a bunch of GMT trays. They're off the website. So actually I kind of like these because since I've got 3 boxes, I'll be able to put everything
My mom
counter.
wants to use one of these for like chocolates.
I'll be able to put all my pieces into these counter trays, stack them into boxes, and then leave the boxes for like one for data cards and the other one for the charts and stuff. So what's nice is he's displaying here. Hold that up. Hold it up. Hold it. All right. There's actually enough space in one GMT counter tray that you could put all the starting Soviet and German forces as far as the armor in one tray, and then the infantry would fit in a second tray. What I've done, though, because I do have the expansions and I might use more trays, is I've gone ahead and put my starting German equipment in one tray, and then I've got the Soviet equipment in another tray. So what we're going to do, he's looking at another tray. Go ahead, open it up, son. So just be careful when you're opening them so they don't have parts and pieces flying out all over the place. I want to talk just a little bit about the counters, not what's on them, but the quality of the counters. First of all, they have full color illustrations. I wish this had autofocus. Does this have autofocus? Possibly. So full color artwork. There you go. He's got airplane 1. But in addition to the full color art, this is a very thick and sturdy counter.
Soviet box.
He's got the Soviet box, German box, so I was very impressed with the counters. Yeah, we'll take a look at some of the other counters. So the vehicle counters are nearly 1 inch.
Just regular soldiers in my hands.
He's got some infantry in his hands. Even the infantry have great artwork. That was a big source of debate. Well, I won't say debate, but there was a lot of talk on some different forums I read. Side view versus front view, or top-down view. The vehicles have top-down views. The infantry have side views. Where's the infantry?
These are double.
Yeah, my son just pointed out that the counters are double-sided. So when you have infantry that have side view, one side has a full squad. The other side has a half squad. Now the vehicles, yep, here we go. He's pointing out, yep, mortar team on one side and a commander on the other side. The vehicles, for your convenience, have one vehicle on one side and another vehicle on the other side. So all the scenarios are currently laid out to where you don't have to worry about running out of counters. There's plenty of counters that you can have martyrs and Stugs and everything on the game board, and you're not really going to run out of equipment unless you do like a super, super large mission.
See the plane?
So he's got a plane on one side
And an attack plane.
and a little tiny plane on the other side.
This is the attack plane, this is the bomber.
So he's got a bomber on one side, attack plane on the other. So the counters are extremely thick, very durable. Really enjoy them. They fit in the counter trays just fine, with plenty of room left over for the expansions.
Small artillery, big artillery.
Pop artillery, baby artillery. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the additional counters, the game counters. There are, let me put this back on, I'll hold this up.
Actually, did you know some of these actually have longer gun things? Longer tubes.
Longer gun tubes. Alright, so just taking a quick peek here. These are the game counters for your orders. Since there's 5 different orders you can use, that easily fills up one side of a GMT counter tray. All the other counters used in the game easily fit into one counter tray. And with the expansions, I haven't gone over them completely yet, but I believe the expansions are just equipment for the counters. I didn't punch those yet. But everything you need to play the game is right here in the base game. So you have everything for tracking the orders, you have your turrets, sighting for artillery, fire. So let's take a look at some of the counters there. Yes.
See this order team?
Mortar team,
It has
commander, yep.
Machine gun
Machine gun team
has the same.
has the same commander. So that was something I wanted to talk a little bit about on the counters, which works for gameplay, is terrible for storage because you're trying to separate them out. Some of the counters have similar fronts and different backs. So for example, here I've got 2 brew up counters. So at first glance I thought, great, I'll just stick all the brew up counters in one slot, but then when I flip them over, one has a knockout side and one has bail for bailing out if your vehicle's damaged but not destroyed. Your crew can bail out. So in terms of trying to figure out how to store stuff, it can be a pain because not all of the markers have the same front and back. So you might have some knockouts and brew up on one marker, then you might have some knockout and bails on the other. Fortunately for knockouts damaged, you might have bail and damaged. Here's an example. We've got some fire markers, so if there's, something's burning, well, at least those were actually, I think those were all the same. Those had ways to mark your hold down positions and on fire.
All the same.
So those were good. Some of the damage markers had different fronts and backs. Mines, I think, were okay. It was either mines on one side or under fire on the other. Not too bad. Yep.
See, but this is just the same thing but different team.
Right. Here's the artillery spotting marker for placing your spotting rounds. One side's Russian, one side is German, so that was okay. That worked out. Now the command markers are great because one side has the actual command Overwatch, for example, and then the back side is your blank command for hidden placement. Those were perfect. Turrets, there's one set of German, one set of Russian. One side is buttoned up. One side would be buttoned up, for example, because it's got a B. The other side would be open, hatches open. Really not used till you hit like optional rules and stuff like that, but they do have them. The turrets are great because when you play, you can have your vehicle facing one way and then use your turret to represent which way the gun is facing for terms of firing and hit damage determination. So a little level of detail. Then we've got objective markers.
So when your tank is facing the other way, you can turn its turret, remember?
Right.
Panzers, it has that wall.
Exactly.
Move.
Right. Some have turrets, some don't have a turret.
Well, some do. Panzer does.
Turning them into a gamer. That's right. He's already learning the vehicles. Some have fixed turrets. You gotta move the whole vehicle. Some have a rotating turret. Alright, so for example, smoke on one side and then 2 completely different orders on the back side. So I just put smoke together. So what that means is not so bad. I don't want that to sound terrible because that allows you to have plenty of markers. Because if I run out of one type of marker, then I know on the back side of some other markers I'll have more of that type as needed. So it works. It's just figuring out how to store is a pain, and then remembering which marker I need is stored on the back of what other marker. So plenty of game markers, and there's a bunch. There's a bunch. Your first starting scenarios might have like 8 tanks total. Well, I've got way more than 8 command markers to give. And then as you start using the advanced rules where, as long as they're within communication, a certain distance of each other, I can place one marker down, and then that will give an order to everyone. Then having this many markers is, almost redundant. But if you started playing with all the vehicles, it's just great that they have included so many extra counters. And all the counters are the thick, really durable. I tried to, just punching them out. I think for the next, I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and kind of cut the corners. I still clip them, but I'm going to cut the corners because as I'm punching them out, it's trying to rip the paper off of some of the counters, and it's like, looks terrible, but I'll probably just use an X-Acto blade and cut them out. But other than that, the quality and the artwork, they're just phenomenal. Really, really good counters.
Mom has the X-Acto.
Right, Mom's got the X-Acto blades. Well, that just about does it. We're going to put the pieces away. So that's the first box. So hopefully this is not, I didn't want to make another hour and a half video just talking about some components, but I did want to put this together to show what comes in the first box, talk about what they're like. The artwork is phenomenal on the counters.
Tigers.
Well, let's match it up. So Panzer, yep, that's good, that's good. So front and back, they match up great. So
You know,
we'll compare and contrast some of the components that come in an expansion in another video. What are you trying to do?
I was trying to look how much powerful the Tiger 2 is.
Tiger 2 is pretty powerful, pretty strong. So we'll go ahead and end that there, and we'll take a look here at the expansions in just a few minutes. Yeah, never work with kids or animals.